Testing, testing. Hello, everyone. This is Liz, formerly of the Information Desk, now part of DPL at Home. Hope you're all doing well today. I know it's raining out, so everyone's going to be looking for something to do completely inside. And I'm here to give you recommendations from Hulu. So today we're going to start out with some series, particularly if you're a fan of crime series. The first is going to be a show that took at least the internet by storm, and that is Killing Eve. I think the show is incredibly fun. It is a comedic cat and mouse tale between an agent and an assassin, and I think both leads are fantastic, especially Sandra Oh. I love her. Um, so much fun to watch. I know there's a lot of there are other fans at the library as well, and I know there's other patrons who are fans. So if you haven't had a chance to start this series, definitely recommend it. The other one I'll recommend is a little bit older and stars someone who we're all fairly familiar with. And that is Prime Suspect, the UK series, starring none other than Dame Helen Mirren, Oscar winner, all-around fabulous actress. And this is a fun show if you just like procedurals, but procedurals with a little bit more unpredictability and a little bit more, you got to use your head for it. Sometimes we all like shows where the same thing happens over and over again, but I think the original Prime Suspect is really good at keeping you guessing and keeping you on your toes. So those are two shows I'd recommend if you're definitely in a crime mood. There's something about crime shows or true crime that kind of, it's not quite cozy, but definitely comfort food for a lot of people. The other two shows I'm going to recommend are animated shows, definitely a bit more kid friendly. Although, if you're older, you'll probably enjoy them as well. The first is a newer series called Gravity Falls. It was a Disney series. It's about twin brother and sister who go visit their great uncle Stan's. Hi, Hilo. Sorry, that was my cat. Their great uncle Stan's mystery shack in Oregon, a little town called Gravity Falls, where weird things happen all the time. It starts off as a mystery of the week, and then it has overall more of a narrative building. But I think it's great. The animation's fantastic, and even if you're not the target audience for the show, age-wise, you'll probably still get a kick out of it. The other animated series is a show from my childhood, Tiny Toon Adventures, fun fact, produced by Steven Spielberg. Some of the references might be dated as it was made in the 90s, but actually as a show, it's overall still pretty funny. And I think younger kids would like it as well. And the next thing I'm going to do is recommend some movies. The first one I'll recommend is... right here. So Hilo's making an appearance now. Hi, Hilo. Say hello to the people. So first one that I'm going to recommend is I, Tonya, that came out in 2017 and stars the great Margot Robbie. Cats, who can explain them, as the infamous Tonya Harding. So this film purports to tell Tonya Harding's side of the story. Definitely takes her side a lot. Ultimately, no one's really going to know what happened except for Tonya herself. But Margot Robbie is extremely entertaining in this movie, and I'm very happy to see where her career has gone because she was pretty quickly labeled a bombshell, and I think she saw that and just said, no, get me something where I can prove I can act. And I think she's done that in multiple films now, so I'm glad to see she's kind of escaped being pigeonholed. The next movie I'm going to recommend, it's a sci-fi film, but I'm going to warn you, it gets really weird. A couple of my friends who watch this are like, you didn't tell me this movie gets like this. So this is called Sorry to Bother You. It came out in 2018, and it's a commentary on the gig economy, on people like Elon Musk. Basically, this guy goes to work at a call center and starts to notice the very strange corporate structure that it has and the strange corporate attitude. It was directed by rapper Boots Riley, and there's no other film like it. That's the most I can say. But again, it takes a sharp turn halfway through the movie. Still entertaining. The next one I'll tell you is another quirky sci-fi story, but don't worry, it doesn't take the left turn that Sorry to Bother You does. And this is Colossal, which was a really underseen Anne Hathaway film that came out in 2017, which I really like and I like recommending to people. Anne Hathaway plays a woman who is just a wreck. She has alcohol issues and she goes back to her hometown and meets up with one of her old friends. And while this happens, a giant monster on certain times of the day is seen in Seoul, South Korea. And you start to see how those two events mesh together. And it actually becomes a very good film about bad codependent relationships and trying to extract yourself from toxic environments. It's a great performance from Anne Hathaway and a really fun movie. The next is a classic I hope everyone knows, Blazing Saddles. What else is there to say? But Mel Brooks comedy. Personally, I think it's his best comedy. Okay, I should say it's my favorite. I think Young Frankenstein is objectively better, but I could quote Blazing Saddles all day. It's hilarious, and this is one of those, if you haven't seen it, see it now. The next two are indies that I'm glad they're on Hulu because that means they can get some eyeballs outside of the theaters. Well, no one's really going to the theaters anymore. The first is Greener Grass. This film is like if John Waters and David Lynch, two masters of like weird trash and surrealism, had a baby and that baby directed this movie. It's a lampooning of suburban culture. It's really one of those that has to be seen to be believed. You will be able to tell fairly soon if you're going to like this or not. But what's so great is things that happen in this movie are so absurd, but all of the actors play it as if it's completely straight and normal, and that just helps the comedy move along. And the next one I'm going to recommend is probably my pick for the day, or one of my picks for the day, and this is called The Day Shall Come. This is directed by the same man who directed Four Lions, which is another good satirical comedy. This is about a man named Moses who lives in Miami. He runs a small church. He's someone who dreams of revolution and rising up, but he also eschews guns, believes that the way you can bring about change is through organic farming and having a horn that summons dinosaurs. Long story short, he's kind of harmless. But the FBI finds out about him, and there, after a case goes really wrong, they're on the hunt for the next bin Laden. And they kind of try to essentially trick this man into committing terrorism. And Moses thinks, well, maybe I'm playing someone, maybe I'm tricking them back. It's a funny movie, but it gets fairly serious towards the end of the movie, and in real life when you realize that the FBI would do stuff like this. They'd find people, they'd goad them into buying guns, and then arrest them. So it's a really good movie that comes with a good, I guess, like a real life subtext. Definitely recommend looking it up. Again, The Day Shall Come. So the last three films I'm going to recommend are foreign features. The first I'm going to recommend is A Taxi Driver. Not Taxi Driver, A Taxi Driver. And this, I'm recommending this because it stars one of my favorite actors, Song Kang-ho. And he was in this year, or last year's fantastic Parasite, which won an Oscar. He played the poorer father of the family. And he's a fantastic actor. He's been in a lot of Bong Joon-ho's movies. He's just a fixture of Korean cinema. So this movie, he plays the lead in. It's not, it's nothing really like the movie Taxi Driver. It's actually a historical action drama, and it's really good. South Korea is actually making some of the best movies out there right now, so if you're okay with subtitles, definitely check this one out. The next one I'll recommend is from Japan, which I think some of the other best movies on the planet are coming from right now. This is called Nobody Knows. This is also directed by Hirokazu Koreeda. I recommended his film Shoplifters last week. This is another slice of life, but slice of life for the underclass of Japan. This is about four children. Their mother is just not really attentive. Their father's not around, and these kids have to learn how to survive on their own. At first, it's almost fun. They form a little family structure, and then reality ensues, and it's heartbreaking. So see that if you want to be sad, but also watch a great movie. And the final one I'm going to recommend, this is actually, I was lucky enough to see this in theaters literally the final weekend before just this all changed. And it is Celine Sciamma's Portrait of a Lady on Fire. This movie is wonderful. It is about a woman painter who has to go paint painting of a young aristocrat for a wedding, and she and her subject fall in love. It's so new I don't want to tell you too much about it, but it's absolutely wonderful. It's beautifully photographed. The two actresses are fantastic, and nothing about the woman's love story is really played for shock value or for the male gaze, as it were. The That's a term in cinema where stuff is usually filmed or shown for the enjoyment of the men in the audience. That isn't there. I just really loved it, and I'm so glad I got to see it on a big screen because it's a film that just draws you in completely. It's a movie where all of the pieces come together and work. It's lush, it's beautiful, the music's great. I just can't stop talking about it, and hopefully you will watch it. It's exclusively on Hulu right now. So hopefully you'll watch one of these movies and enjoy. And I'll see you tomorrow for Freebie Friday. Have a great day.